Gilmore Girls is of course the story of Lorelai and Rory Gilmore, both figuring out how to grow up into the people that they want to be. But there's a third Gilmore woman who provides a very different perspective to the show with her own biting wit, matriarch Emily Gilmore.
Hold on, I'm looking up aneurysm in our medical dictionary to see if I just had one.
Emily was constantly at war with her daughter Lorelai, over everything from major life decisions to the minutiae of her outfits.
You had the word juicy on your rear end.
Well, if I'd known you were coming over, I would have changed.
Into what, a brassiere with the word tasty on it?
She is uptight and close-minded, the total antithesis of the fun and free Lorelai. And she can often come across as suffocating and even straight up mean. But if we take a closer look, we can begin to better understand why Emily behaved the way she did, and why her evolution was actually just as important as Lorelai and Rory's. Emily and Lorelai are in many ways like oil and water. Emily, an archetypal wasp, beholden to societal rules and unwilling to express any emotion beyond tepid displeasure. Lorelai, an energetic free spirit who feels deeply, jumps into experiences headfirst, often without thinking everything through, and who wants to live life by her own rules.
So Lorelai, how are things at that charming little inn of yours?
They're still charming and little. And we're just crossing our fingers it doesn't assert itself and become rude and large.
As Lorelai was growing up, Emily expected that her daughter would follow in her footsteps, molding herself into the perfect society wife and mother. Lorelai had other plans. She bristled against her mother's constraining nature, and when she became pregnant at 16, chose to run away and attempt to make it all on her own, rather than be stuck under her mother's thumb any longer. And she did. She found a place to stay, worked her way up at her job, and began carving out her own life for herself. Though this would be a great success to most, in Emily's eyes, Lorelai's life was still a letdown because she wasn't successful in the quote-unquote right ways.
Independence Inn.
You really should identify yourself when you answer the phone at work.
Sorry. Independence Inn. Major disappointment speaking. Better?
Yes, thank you.
A big part of the reason that they butt heads so intensely is because they're actually a lot alike. They're strong-willed and quick-witted women with their own opinions that they are not afraid to share. And they're always convinced that their way is the best way. It's really their split in mindset around how life should be lived and how women should behave that drives the wedge between them.
I saw a supply closet down the hall. Maybe my masseur could finish me in there.
Okay, Mom.
Or perhaps I could roll myself against a stucco wall, eliminate the need for a masseur altogether.
Because Lorelai ran away and cut her parents out of her life at only 16, there's an underlying what if in their relationship. How might have things been different if she had stayed? Lorelai likely imagines that she would still have rebelled either way. If she hadn't had the pregnancy to spur her choice, then it likely would have come when she graduated and moved out. Emily, on the other hand, often seems to want to imagine a world where Lorelai had stayed and came to appreciate Emily's world, and began trying to fit herself into the correct mold as she entered adulthood.
You can use your mother's old golf clubs. They're upstairs gathering dust along with the rest of her potential.
Okay. Mom, can I maybe talk to you for a minute?
We see this come to a head when Emily and Richard harbor Rory after she decides to drop out of Yale against Lorelai's wishes. Lorelai fears that Rory dropping out means that all of the hopes she had had for her are dashed, and so is upset that her parents are not only okay with it, but have been helping and hiding Rory without telling her. Emily feels like she's helping out her grandchild, both by giving her a place to stay and by pulling her back into the fold, finally giving herself the chance to raise a child the right way.
You guys must be pretty jazzed though, huh? I mean, you finally did it. You finally got a shot at getting the daughter you've always wanted. Now you get your do-over, a new and improved Lorelai.
But why is Emily so obsessed with this idea that there's only one correct path forward in life?
Never underestimate the value of the upper hand, Rory. You're in the real world now. Status matters.
But
Your grandfather and I are very proud of you.
Emily is a product of her era and social class. She was brought up in a time when women's proper roles were very strictly defined, and her social status also came with its own rigid set of ideas about the world and how one should exist in it.
The whole point of barbecuing is to eat outside.
Animals eat outside. Human beings eat inside with napkins and utensils. If you want to eat outside, go hunt down a gazelle.
Her goals in life were more based around keeping up appearances and solidifying the aesthetics of wealth and success, with happiness and freedom taking a back seat in that pursuit. For her, marrying well was a major life success, securing herself not only financial security, but also a feeling of safety.
And I'd sneak out of bed, and I'd put on my wedding dress, and my tiara, and my gloves. How very safe I felt. How very right and wise and honored.
And so, when it came to raising her daughter, she attempted to get Lorelai to focus on these same things, to become a person that someone else would want to marry, instead of focusing on who she actually wanted to be. Everything Emily does, from her choice of friends to her home decor to her clothes and beyond, is about performing the person she thinks she's supposed to be. This gives her a feeling of control over her life, which means she feels very uncomfortable when she has to step outside of that box.
I feel ridiculous.
You look great.
I look like a Clydesdale.
Emily doesn't see her power stemming from herself or any personal trait of her own, but instead from her money, or rather from her access to someone else's money, first her parents, then her husband's. This then becomes her means of access to and control over both Lorelai and Rory. Lorelai needing money to pay for Rory's private school is what pulls her back into her mother's orbit, and so Emily jumps at the chance to use this financial leverage to get what she wants emotionally, making them repay the loan not with money, but with their presence.
Dinner Friday night. No spurs, please.
And this is also why she bristles so much at any attempts towards financial independence on Lorelai's part. Like when she gets mad at Lorelai for trying to pay her and Richard back the Chilton money, because she knows that that money is what really gives her any semblance of control in their relationship.
I was going to wait until you called me, but my life isn't as long as yours. Did you sit on the couch?
The couch? You did this?
Of course I did it. My granddaughter's a Yalie now. She needs to live like a Yalie.
Social media is full of juice cleanses, soup diets, and other unsustainable cycles. But there's a better, more sustainable way. If you've heard of GLP-1s, you've probably heard about how difficult to obtain and expensive they can be. That's where Ro can help. Ro has compounded GLP-1s in stock now, and you can see if you qualify from the comfort of home, without having to deal with scheduling a doctor's appointment. And if you qualify, you can get it in 1 to 4 days. Ro members have support throughout the entire process, and if eligible for medication, will be able to access their provider on demand to answer any questions they might have. Go to ro.co/take. Memberships start at just $99 for your first month. Medication costs are separate. That's ro.co/take. Go to ro.co/safety for black box warning and full safety information. Compounded medication is not required to and does not receive FDA review or approval. Prescription only. The view that Emily grew up surrounded by was that one should do whatever it takes to ensure the best life for your children, even if that meant doing so by force and against their will.
I only want the best for her, and since she is incapable of judging what is right and what is wrong, I had to step in. I had to act.
And that best life didn't have anything to do with happiness or fulfillment, but was solely focused on their continued access to their wealth and social standing.
I was supposed to graduate from high school and go to Vassar, marry a Yale man, and get myself a proper nickname like Babe or Bunny or Shih Tzu.
This, unsurprisingly, caused issues with kids like Lorelai, who sought freedom and had a desire to express themselves as they pleased, especially during the early 1980s when there was a new wave of angsty teens like Lorelai beginning to push back against the establishment and ideas about who they were supposed to be.
I spoiled their plans. I took their fine upbringing in a world of comfort and opportunity, and I threw it in their faces. I broke their hearts.
Emily's belief that the only thing that really matters in life is securing wealth and social standing is why she's so against things that make Lorelai happy but don't fit that mold, from her job to the people she cares about.
I guess people who frequent diners don't look too closely at what they're eating out of self-defense.
We don't serve roadkill at my place.
Well, good for you.
As many times as Lorelai proves she can take care of herself, even if she does stumble along the way, Emily still sees her as her rebellious child that she needs to rein in and set on the right path. While this kind of life is constricting to someone like Lorelai, who grew up in it and did everything she could to escape it, we also get to see the things that make it so enticing to outsiders through Rory's eyes. Lorelai had given Rory a lot of personal freedom, but we see how that can take a sharp turn into being spoiled when money becomes involved. Rory is quite quickly pulled in by the allure of high society life. The idea of a life where everything good is plotted out for you and you get to just float along. The ability to use wealth to get whatever she wants. And just being a Gilmore.
I mean, I'm a Gilmore. Do they know that? My ancestors came over on the Mayflower. I had a coming out party. I went to Chilton and Yale.
And it's that spoiled nature that makes people easier to control. When they realize how much easier everything is with access to money, it takes a lot more to get them to give it up or go against it. Rory also shows how difficult it is to hold these two parts of oneself. The part that wants freedom to do what they want, and the part that wants the power to mold the world into what they want. She enjoys the trappings of the life and the way it opens doors for her, and is there to catch her when she falls. But she also simultaneously pushes back against the idea that she's that kind of person.
Whether you like it or not, you're one of us. You went to prep school, you go to Yale. Your grandparents are building a whole damn astronomy building in your name.
That is different, okay?
She wants the power without the restriction, but that's generally not how it works, especially for women. And that gets at the heart of Emily's whole thing. In her era, the way she chose to live was presented as the single way that women were able to build relatively safe and comfortable lives for themselves. And she feared for Lorelai that breaking out of that mold would only lead to disaster. And to be fair, it was not an easy journey for Lorelai. Because she had so completely bought into the rules and ways of her world, she couldn't see that there was another way, even as Lorelai went out and proved it. Emily found security in wealth, but Lorelai had chosen to build a different kind of life for herself, where she could feel truly safe and happy because she knew that she had the freedom to fail, pick herself back up, and try again. No one on the show is static, not even the stoic Emily Gilmore. Though she thought her life would be simple and follow the plan she set out for herself, or really that was set out for her, she's continually thrown off course and has to find ways to adapt. From losing her only child when Lorelai ran away, to constantly being at odds with her when they do reconnect, to Richard's affair, to learning to live on her own for the first time in her life, to losing Richard and truly being on her own. Change is difficult for anyone, especially when you've been stuck in the same patterns for so long. So it's not surprising that it took a lot to shake Emily out of her rigid ways.
Mom, he's taking the dining room chairs.
They don't bring me joy.
While her and Lorelai's similarities were part of what drove their constant bickering, it's also what allowed them to understand each other on a deeper level once they took the time to try to connect.
I don't remember being in labor for 14 hours with anyone else, so no, there's no one else.
Okay, I'll be over.
I'll be waiting. Blind and waiting.
While they never fully see eye to eye, Emily is willing to stand up for Lorelai and Rory when it matters.
They are in this together.
I don't see why. Why should Christopher sacrifice everything we planned for him just because...
Choose your words extremely carefully, Strobe.
And they are able to find some common ground. And raising a child who doesn't always live her life the way Lorelai would have wanted gives her a new perspective on what Emily went through raising her. And while Emily is pretty loudly against most of Lorelai's lifestyle, it's clear that deep down she is proud of the person her daughter has become and the life she's built for herself.
What'd I miss?
I was just admiring your mother's life.
Oh, I do that daily.
And while she'll never let go of her love of the finer things in life, she does begin to see how those kind of things aren't the key to personal fulfillment.
I like that woman. And you know what? I like these shoes.
You're becoming one of us, Grandma.
Gilmore Girls was about Lorelai's adult growing up and Rory's regular growing up, but also about Emily growing and changing thanks to having these two in her life too. Emily never became a perfect person. Just like everyone else, she still had many flaws and obstacles she had to work to overcome. But her story is positive in that it shows that even when you've been trapped in your ways for so long, you can break out of that box and start working towards being a better, more caring person, and start living the life you want.
And I'm going to have 2 glasses of wine at lunch every single day.
Only prostitutes have 2 glasses of wine at lunch.
Well, then buy me a boa and drive me to Reno because I am open for business.
That's the take. Click here to watch the video we think you'll love, or here to check out a whole playlist of awesome content. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications.